privacy.
Yeah, that's fine. What up? What up? Oh shit, we live. Yo, everybody head over to YouTube if I decide to play some music today, which I probably won't. But we live. 333 TV.
What up?
RIPtv. I'm in here with the Dour people. Shout out to Mad Nation. Check my interview coming real soon from them. It's time to roll up the Dour so we can get into it. For those that don't know, this is the Dour people.
The Dour people are in the building, baby. If you're not familiar, get familiar.
Yeah, get familiar, yo. And if y'all don't know, because you might not know, in those few and far moments whenever I was too busy to record P or I was off doing some Dour things, this is the guy what I would call to go fill in for me. So we got, oh shit, you got Mad P session experience. So
technically, I took over in the end, but you know.
It's
neither here nor there. You know.
See, I have a glass jar in my hand when he says shit like that, so I can easily just hit him in the face because there is no takeover.
Unless it breaks by hitting it on the side of the keyboard.
Well, it could, but there is no goddamn takeover.
It's the Dour people takeover, baby.
So as I'm rolling up this motherfucking blunt,
Bruce Banner.
Yo, if y'all got any questions you want to ask, go ahead and shoot them out. Because you know I will answer them. You got any questions for the Dour people? Go ahead and ask. Indeed, what up, homie? So, let me tell you a story of how I found this puppy on the sidewalk in front of IAR. I found a homeless puppy and I took him under my wing. Alright, so I'm going to tell y'all the story about how I got this guy involved in P's life, which he owes me for the rest of his goddamn existence. Alright, so I was having some difficulties at Infamous Studios, and I was, this is before P got out. I was a little bit fucking pissed off, and IAR had actually contacted me more than once about being a teacher there. And I wanted to teach at one part of my life, but at that time, fuck, how many years ago was that?
That was 2010.
2010, so you're talking about a decade ago.
Literally.
I was only 30 at the time, and I thought to myself, once you start teaching audio at an institution, you don't record anymore. You're kind of retired.
We've Doured a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So I didn't want to feel like I was retiring from the music game because P wasn't even out yet. But doing my due diligence, I went to IAR and I talked to the chancellor about becoming a professor there.
So do they need to know what IAR is, though?
It's the Institute of Audio Recording.
Audio research. So
Audio.
Basically, this is the ideal school to go to if you're able to, deal with it. This shit is
It was
bread, but yeah. So
it doesn't exist anymore.
Everything else is whack. That was it.
So I go and have an interview with the chancellor of IAR, and he's just like, "Yo, this is amazing." I talked to him about how I believe that audio schools are doing the people who are paying for their tuition dirty. Big Jazz, what up, homie? Because they go to school and pay $75,000 and don't learn a goddamn thing. So, a lot of bread and you don't learn anything. I'm like, yo, they don't teach you how to run a studio. So, I had an internship program at the time that was actually accredited by IAR that if you finished 100 hours of internship with me, you got college credits from them. And
I don't even think I knew this shit.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't tell me.
Nah, because once I got you guys in there, it was slave labor. Yo, somebody go to the store and get me some Dutches. That's basically all you had to do as an intern for me.
Horrible.
I was the worst.
We were put to work.
Yeah, right. You motherfuckers didn't have to do shit. I'm the type who does everything on my own, so it is what it is. So anyway,
great minds think alike.
It's time to Dour as we really get into this adventure. So I go and I have my interview with the chancellor of IAR, and it's raining, and he doesn't even know that I'm coming there. I just show up, and I'm just like, yo, where's the chancellor at? The security guard's like, yo, you need a pass to get in the building. I'm just like, yo, I'm Joe the engineer. I'm Mobb Deep's engineer. I need to go talk to the chancellor. And he was just like, oh, word, fuck, I love Mobb Deep. And he let me right in the building. You'd be surprised how well that card works.
Perks.
So I go talk to the chancellor, and he's just like, well, you didn't really set up an appointment with me, but it's raining, and you came all the way here anyway, so just come into the office and we'll talk real quick. And I'm just like, word, fuck it, I'm in here. So he basically hires me on the spot and tells me that I need to just fill out the application and we'll get started. And it was just like, oh shit, I'm about to be a professor. So I'm walking out of the building. This is a true story, by the way, as all my stories are true. I'm walking out of IAR, and I pass a group of probably 5 or 6 students who are on the sidewalk. And I'm walking by them, and my supersonic hearing lets me know that they were having a spirited debate about the relevancy of Mobb Deep, which made me stop. Because I heard a couple of kids go, yo, Mobb Deep is washed. It's over for P. Blah, 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 blah. And out of that group of 5 people, there was only one person who was like, nah, son, Mobb Deep is forever. Y'all know Infamous. P is forever. It was this fucking guy. So I walk right into the middle of the crowd, and I look at all of them. I know y'all are probably bugging, like, who the fuck is this dude? Because I literally just walked up to him and pointed at everybody. I said... And I went around all of them, and I got to him. I said, you want a job? And he's just like, what do you mean? I'm just like, yo, so I run the Mobb Deep studio. I'm looking for more interns. You're over here defending P. You want a fucking job? He says yes, and the other 5 people were like, oh, hell no, nah, that ain't real. There's no way you work for them. One of his classmates was also there. And he was just like, well, I want a job too. And I hired both of them. Well, his classmate came to the studio once and never came back. And then this guy just fucking stayed around.
He couldn't handle the Dour.
So I literally found him on the street. He happened to be the biggest P fan ever, besides myself. And I just hired him on the spot. And he's been around ever since then. It's been 10 fucking years. So he went from being a huge P fan, defending P on the street corner, to basically becoming friends with P. Because if you're around P long enough, that means you were friends with him. Because if you weren't, he just wouldn't have you around. So, what do you think of your meteoric rise from a puppy in a box on the corner to actually getting to record your favorite artist of all time?
Well, it was cool, man. You know, I was right at the start of the height of me beginning to do what I do. I've always done music. Basically, I wanted to try to figure out how to do the shit, you know, self-sufficiently. We're in the age of technology where it's like you can just go buy all this shit. You don't even need to go to a studio. So I'm now learning how to do that at the school. The school was in the city, for anyone who's asking. And yeah, it's cool. Like, so I get to, meanwhile, it's like this guy comes around the corner. It's just like we're talking. We're on like a lunch break. The Dour people appear. I'm just like, who the fuck is this dude who's just standing here? And then at the end of the conversation, he's just like, yeah, nah, P will be home soon. I'm just like, like, who is this guy? So me and the homie, shouts to Jay.
Yeah. Who knows what he's doing with
Jay,
himself right now?
Shouts to Jay, man. Jay was like, he was kind of more like, yeah. I was kind of just like, yo, cool, like, sure, this is awesome, sure. So Jay, my homie, Jay sets the shit up. You're in contact with him.
Yeah, I actually wasn't even in contact with him. I was in contact with Jay because Jay was real enthusiastic about the opportunity, and I thought he wasn't, but later I just learned he was just high.
So yeah, like I came through. Initially, it's crazy because I start off in the same place where it's like, this is the only place I want to be at. So that's where I'm starting. So to me, it was a perfect situation. And then what did I lie? Tyson, somebody was playing fucking PP games, and so some weird shit happened.
Oh, I'll get to that.
Fast forward, the Dour people are back. We met P, and that was it, man.
So some background on it. At one point, at Infamous Records, everybody thought that there was an undercover cop amongst our midst. And me being white, they thought it was me first. But I was just like, yo, you guys are fucking retarded. I've been here for like 7 years. if I'm an undercover cop, I'm the illest undercover cop ever. Because I fucking lived in that studio on that goddamn couch until P got out. So then they were just like, well, it can't be Joe.
They tried to say I was the feds, son.
He's been here forever. And then they just pointed it at him. So this is what I would call the exact opposite of white privilege, because he was white, they were like, he's got to be the cop. This is a true story. So then I had to tell him, like, yo, son, people be thinking you're a cop and undercover and shit, so, like, you can't really come around right now. Like, I'm going to straighten shit out. And, yo, Gotti, what up, son? Yo, Gotti, this is the Dour people. He was at the Loud show, son.
What up?
Chinky know who the Dour people is. No, go ahead.
What? I know. Where were we?
No, so I basically had to not fire him.
Nah, I took matters into my own hands. I stopped coming around. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna start recording there, son. So I started booking my own sessions. Like, yo, fuck that shit. So I started coming around again, and that's how we got it. The fuck happened after that, man? Yeah, P came home right after that. That was right. That was like 2011 or something.
Yeah, so it was funny because I actually felt really bad. Hey, good God, he said to me, you still a cop. Up against the wall, motherfuckers. It's 2020. So anyway, I actually felt really bad that because he was he was a good intern, and I knew he wasn't a cop. He smoked too much goddamn weed to be a cop. So if you remember, this is whenever you were staying over by Chinatown.
Yeah.
In that area.
Yes.
With the huge fucking vaulted ceilings and shit, and the Dour room up on the second floor that you had to, like, crawl under to get to.
The crack room.
The crack room. So, Santana, Fox. Yo, Fox, I got the Dour people.
Dour people.
So, I actually went over to the Dour people's house to let him know, like, listen, man, I'm going to keep you around, but I just can't have you coming to the studio right now because things are just a little bit weird. And, you know, we hung out. And then I actually introduced him to Cash. And then him and Cash started doing a lot of work together. And, you know, they had their relationship that spanned over a decade. But, you know, I felt bad, man. I'm a human being still, even though I'm a cop, apparently. And I actually went to his crib and let him know, like, yo, I'm going to keep you around, you know. And then when we left, when me and Pete left Infamous Studios, Cash and the Dour people were one of the first people that came to the crib. And I just let Pete know, like, he already knew Cash. But I was just like, I told him, I was like, listen, man, I'm never going to bring anyone here.
I never seen nobody over there.
Except Cash. I told him, I was like, Cash is the only person I'll ever bring over here.
I'm saying us, like, we was always around, and there was never anybody. So everybody, like, come on, man. You see a couple motherfuckers. You see Gotti pull up, Chinky, you know. What's his name?
Oh, no, Santana, we'll get to the Davies story. I'm definitely telling the Davies story.
That's like the end.
I'm definitely telling you.
Just stop.
Gotti said both of us are cops and you're my partner. Word. Partner
in crime.
Partner in crime. Partner in Dour, maybe.
Partner in Dour.
Yo, if I'm a cop, I'm the worst cop ever.
Well, filthy motherfucker.
I'm the second worst cop ever. The worst one is right there. So, you know, fast forward, I kept him around. You know, we move out of Infamous Studios and start building studios in the crib and working from home all the time. And then all of a sudden, he's back around and in the mix. So, what I think is really funny about it is, oh, she said we're mall cops. Paul Blart. Bitch. So
I can't figure out anything.
That's Kevin James. That's the
No, I know.
the
I know. I'm too many White Claws.
Yeah, there's too many white people and too many White Claws involved. So, yo, what's real funny about this guy is he's hanging out at the house with me, P, Cash, and Santana Fox for like a year before P even knows that he raps. I remember we were sitting in the studio one day and P was just like, oh, wait a minute, you rap? And he was like, Yeah.
Because it was weird because I met him initially getting shit mixed down at the studio, but I know it's like, yo, you just came home. It's like you're not paying any. I don't know how that works. You sober, you just come home after doing 3.5 years. It's like you're probably not really paying attention to this little shit going on. But yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, son, like you don't remember it. So that was funny to me.
Yeah, it was hilarious. He didn't even know he rapped. He was like, holy shit, you rap? I had no idea. And I was just like, I guess he does. Well, the funny thing is, I had known him for years, and I'd never heard him rap yet. I was just like, I guess he does. He says he raps. I don't fucking know. So, what do you think? Now I'm going to start asking you some questions. Since you're like, you got to be in the top 10 of P's fans. You have to be. Like,
I probably am.
He is. I'm not even like making this shit up. He actually is got to be in the top 10. I've never seen anybody. He had more P records than I did, which I didn't think was possible. So, what do you think? Well, first of all, you're from New York, right?
Born and raised. 30 long years.
Woo! So, what was it like being in New York when Mobb Deep came out?
I mean, look, I was a child when Mobb Deep came out, but to be honest with you, the first time, alright, and P would tell you this, or would tell this story, like he made it a thing, like, yo, Eminem brought us back to life with the 8 Mile shit. So the first time I heard Mobb Deep was the fucking, you know, the infamous scene at the end of the movie with all the, you know, shook ones and all that. That's how you get put on in the beginning. And all throughout the movie, honestly, they had mad survival of the fit, all that shit. So I was 12 years old. I heard I'm like, this is the illest shit I've ever heard in my life, son. And that was after that. It was just Mobb Deep. I didn't even fuck with, like, what was popping at the time was like Lil Jon and all of this shit was going on, like 2003. I'm like, yo, I don't want to hear any of this shit. Please, just I need new Mobb Deep. And there was mad shit out, so it was like, it's like you come across a gold mine.
Yeah, so you were afforded the ability to learn about Mobb Deep almost mid-career and then go backwards.
Exactly.
So when you went backwards and heard like the Infamous and Murder Music and shit like that, what did you feel?
Everything. The first time I heard the Infamous album, yeah, that shit just made me feel alive, yo. Like, I want to start, yo, let's go out, let's drink, let's smoke something, like, I want to feel how I feel when I'm listening to this. And this shit made me start feeling alive. Like, I started doing things and doing more. And just, it was, you know, you 13, 14, that's when you know.
That's got to be ill for you to be 13 and 14 and be into Mobb Deep. To get into Mobb Deep then, because it's essentially going to raise you.
That's what it did, yo. That's why I always say, it's like, P taught me a lot, man.
Word. So it's funny the generational gap between us, because I'm just 10 years older than you. So when you're 13, I was 23, dropping out of college and going to the Art Institute so I could make music like P. That's hilarious. I heard H&IC and I was like, I have to do this.
Right. Yo, man, when I heard H&IC, all right, so I found out about H&IC like 2 years later. This is LimeWire. So anybody who doesn't know, I mean, everybody in here knows what LimeWire is. But yeah, when I found that fucking H&IC album, I had to go buy that shit.
Word. Yeah, no, it's funny. I wasn't really a big P fan. I like Hav's beats, but I really wasn't into Mobb Deep like that. I was totally hooked on Tupac and whatnot. But my roommate at the time, Eddie, kept telling me, yo, you got to go get that H&IC album. You got to go get it. You got to go get it. Because my weed connect at the time owned a record store. And he was just like, yo, go to Courtney's and go get that shit real quick. And it was a 1/4 mile drive away. Mad quick. So I went over there and copped some weed and just got it. Yo, I swear to God, the second I heard Genesis, I was instantaneously hooked. Not just P and what he was talking about, but just the style of production and shit on it. I was like, yo, what is this? And then later to find out, P actually made the beat for Genesis.
People don't know that shit. Yo, that's the perfect introduction, aside from other things that started the album off. That was a perfect introduction, yo, to P.
Yeah, so if y'all didn't know, somebody said 55. I don't look that goddamn old. You motherfuckers. Stay fresh. What up, homie? So, yeah, you do. What I heard, H&IC, I'm talking hooked to the point I was like, yo, I'm dropping out of college. So, for y'all that don't know, I was a pre-med and bio double major with a chemistry minor and playing football in college, and I dropped all of it so I could go make some rap music.
Shit made me drop out of high school, yo. Word.
Destiny manifested and shit. I could say, honestly, without, not just because it's the two of us, but we are literally within... Fucks! We are literally within the top 10 people who are going to be like the world's biggest P fans. So to end up not only working with P, but befriending, and for me personally, being best friends with P is like, I can't even explain. I'm still going on the ride, so it's hard for me to explain it while I'm on the ride. Because it feels like an adventure or a ride to me. It's just like, yo, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
How do you go from listening to H&IC and drop out of college to hanging out with P every day?
Your favorite artist, like, and he's mad fucking cool. It's like it's the homie. Like you don't. Like I said, it's like Dour raised me, for the most part. My teenage years, he taught me a lot of shit. My own father passed when I was 8, so it's like, you know what I'm saying? So then to meet the homie and then to fuck with the homie, it's like, it's, yeah.
I mean, you know, my pops is still alive, but my relationship with him was different. It wasn't really on I'm going to teach you things. It was just like, I'm going to make sure that you're fed and you're okay and you're out of jail. Like, straight discipline, right?
Yeah.
So when I started listening to P's music, he's, fuck your screw face, I watch Hands, shit like that. It made me think. And it's like, yo, P taught me so much, man. I don't want to say P raised me because he didn't. That's disrespectful to my parents because they did do such a good job. But P's rhymes, man, they raised my brain.
Word.
CoolR The Don, what up? Yeah, Santana, they don't know how far we go back. They don't know that we go back like 4 fats on a Cadillac.
We go back like Dour on a Friday afternoon, man.
Yeah, y'all don't know, man. We go way back. So you're growing up listening to Mobb Deep. Is that what made you want to rap?
Honestly, probably. I started rapping when I was 14. Started fucking with little garage bands. So Macs had these garage band shits. It's free. It's a free program. You get, like, we're recording on an internal microphone on the computer, just trying to spit on beats. Like, yo, this. It all started right after fucking the first time I heard. So it's like, I'm sure that I left that out. That shit made me want to fucking do music, man.
This shit literally made me do music. I stopped going to class and just sat there and made terrible beats.
I started skipping high school recording awful fucking freestyles all day. Just like, oh, this beat is hard. Let me just say it and see what I could do.
Yeah, so I used to rap with a couple of, like, all right, so my sophomore year of college, I tore my rotator cuff on the 4th day of football practice, and that means I took a medical red shirt, which means I didn't have to go to practice for the rest of the year. I was just hanging out. I didn't have shit to do, so I started smoking weed and hanging out with the basketball players. Well, all of them rap, and so I started rapping, and it was real funny. This is way, way back in the day. You know, I'm an ignorant idiot at this point, and I remember Jamar, this guy, he was 6'9". When he says that was his rap name, was 6'9". Because he was 6'9", but he was just like, yo, man, you got bars and shit, but you say the N-word too much.
Yeah.
Listen, man, you're just listening to rap. You're just regurgitating all the shit that you hear.
Man,
I was a kid.
It's whatever, you know what I'm saying? I definitely, somebody might find something one day, I might get canceled. You never know.
Yo, but what's funny about me is I've been given the pass to say that word by many, many, many people, and I won't because it's not even, I have a southern drawl, y'all, so the ER and the AR sound exactly the same, so it's not happening. It's difficult. So we both clearly established that P music basically made us drop out of school. So, fast forward, and then when you decided to go to the Art Institute, or not the Art Institute, IAR, what was your goal?
My goal was to figure out how to self-sufficiently build my own catalog of music, record, how to do the business. They give you they give you a real round. Like IAR was the shit. SAE, I'm sorry, but it's probably trash. Like that's the only thing left at this point.
It's the only one left.
And yo, it's just, it sucks. This new generation, man, I feel so bad.
Well, the thing is, the school's closed now. You just learn to align.
Right.
All these engineers,
Let me explain that when I actually got in the field, I didn't know what the fuck was going on until he showed me. So
Word.
It's a combination of the two.
Yo, so shout out to LB,
Word.
my mentor, because when I started interning at Quad Studios, he took me under his wing, and he just kept telling me, we're rock stars. He taught me how to run a session and operate a room and how to quarterback a recording session, which they don't teach you at school. They don't teach you shit. They teach you how to, like, press a button. And that's about it. They don't teach you how to be an engineer. So that was my whole thought process was, y'all guys suck. You don't know how to run a room. I'm going to teach you guys how to run a room. And the most important thing if you're going to work in rap is you better figure out the personality and the temperament and the mood of whoever's in charge of that session instantly and adapt.
Yeah. I remember.
No, go ahead.
No, I remember I was going to say the first time when I was going looking for internships at the school, which is why I was so bugged out, because like they apparently, they offered you internship. Everybody's like, they don't give you shit. But so it was cool that I met him outside of school, off the grounds technically. But nah, there was this one studio I remember when I was shipping a resume out, like, yo, I want to work somewhere, like, what's good? I went to this shit, Crosby Studios in Soho. The dude, the introduction, the dude was like, yeah, so like you might, like everyone's cool, like you might record Mano, like he punched the last guy in the face because he couldn't figure out the talk. But I'm just like, all right, cool, that sounds spectacular. I never went back to that shit. It was like, the fuck are you talking about? So it was funny that it's just funny how shit wound up, man.
Yo, that's hilarious because one of my other interns, shout out to Chi-Chi, he was in a session with at the moment, we'll leave him as an unnamed rapper, but you'll be able to add 2 and 2 as soon as I tell you what happened. And Chi-Chi was having a little bit of trouble flying the hook. Dude comes into the fucking control room and takes a chair and holds it over top of Chi-Chi's head and tells him, if you don't fly that motherfucking hook, I'm going to smash this chair over your head.
Can we say who it was?
Nah. We'll
oh, that's disrespectful, kind of?
No, it's just like, we'll leave him like Voldemort. It's a name that you don't mention.
Okay.
But
I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, man, it goes down every once in a while in the lab, man. There's some violent shit that happens sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So.
Never know, man.
Yo, Adam, what up, man? How much do I know about recording on 24-track 2-inch reels? A lot, because when I went to school, that's what they still used. And I actually had a class that would not let us use a computer in it. It was all analog recording. So I've been there, done that. It's just it's pointless. We got computers now. Let's do that shit. So now you're listening to Mobb Deep. You're in IAR, and it's just like, how was it going to school before I met you?
I mean, it was cool. It was probably the second quarter, so the shit that it went quarterly. It's like there's 4 different quarters for the year. It was a year-long program. You do different shit every quarter. We was in the second quarter. I came fresh. I remember the day. We were doing a business class, and the assignment, shouts to Gary Fritz, my teacher. The assignment was like, yo, we're doing liner notes today. So I said, we studying these are like all the little fine print shit you'll see in the album booklet or whatever. I don't even know if they make fucking physical albums anymore, but yeah, it's like, yo, they tell you everything, all the information about the album is some old school shit. Everybody in here probably knows. So he's like, yo, pick a song from an album you own and bring the shit in that you have, and so we're gonna pay attention to liner notes. So I pick Keep It Thorough. I bring the shit in. I have the CD and all that, and that's why we're talking about Mobb Deep. We went to a smoke break and hit this guy, and that's how it went down. You know what I mean? So that was fresh off the brain.
That's hilarious. So what was it like? How much school did you have left?
Okay, so the school was cool, and then I met you, and it was like, all right, this is great. So it was a lot different after that, because then I'm coming there 3 times a week. So
Yeah, he came a lot. He was like, I'm in there. I'm out here. Let's go.
So it was great, man. Everything changed after that. Like, that's when shit started to ship.
Word. So we'll fast forward now. P's out, and I know you weren't around the lab that much when he was out. The insanity of the studio when P got out of prison, yo, it was like being in the club, man. There was so many fucking people all the time.
There was a lot going on. A lot of new people came around after that too.
Yeah, it was funny because like the first couple of days, it was all the people like, you know, Banks came through, Gotti, Twin, Godfather, Noid. You know, it's like the Mobb Deep fam, like, and you know, Banks he always said, yo, P's my favorite rapper, so he came his first opportunity.
Yeah, Banks. P was the first person to throw Banks a feature. Like, that was Banks' first feature. He was just like, yo, what? You just gonna give me a verse like that?
Yeah, it was that was the 1 2 3 grind.
Nah, it was Get Down. I'm talking about
before, way back.
Like when he started out, his first major, he was just like, P. He was just like, yeah, I throw you. P threw him a verse on his own fucking song that he redid over the same beat. Like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Shouts to Santana Fox. Man.
Yeah, so the 1 2 3 grind, as soon as Banks came, you know, we listened to, there's a video up on my Instagram and on YouTube of Banks and P listened to Not a Stand. Banks really fucking liked that song. And then he just played him, Banks played him a couple joints, and then it was just like, it's P. Which one do you want me on? It wasn't even like, yo, it was just like, yo, let's go. Because at that time, yo, P did features with everyone. And he said, yo, I'm doing features with everybody because I'm shitting on everybody. He's like, I'm about to out-rap everyone. And that was his whole thing. And we did like 8 billion features. So now let's fast forward to the Kew Gardens era when we first exit Infamous Studios. Now you're actually coming around. So what is that like? Because it's not like you're just
cool.
not...
Yeah, I'm not just in the mix anymore. It's like, all right, we're going to do the Dour thing now. Like, you know what I mean? So, Bill, you know, you're fucking with Bills and all that. So Bills goes over there to record. That's the studio. It's over for the studio now.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just
on?
wanted to say thank you for taking him to the park.
Oh, not a problem. He was awesome.
Yeah, I want to hear about it later.
So, yeah, now he's hanging out. And you're, like, hanging out in P's crib.
Yeah, we at the penthouse in the sky, baby. You know what I mean? It's the spot. So the studio, so Joe builds the studio in the crib. What do they call it? The what room?
I forget what we called that one.
Fuck it. But we'll figure it out. By the end of the episode, we'll figure it out. But... like
that vocal booth, though.
Was some shit.
That vocal booth, though, was fucking...
It was dope. He did his thing. So you have Bills recording there. So it's like we were doing the Shade Gang thing at the time. So it's like, it's just, we over there, yo. We over here. It's dope, you know.
So what's going through your head?
Just like, cool, like, fuck. So I was just going through some shit in my life where I have figured out, like, kind of like, yo, who's really in my corner, who's not, you know, shit you go through in your life. And I kind of just had to leave behind my whole group that I was doing when I was doing music and all this shit, homies. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, all right, cool. So I'm not really fucking with anybody now. So suck my dick. This is what I'm going to do now, and we're going to make things happen. So it was just fuel. It was like, all right, cool, I'm where I'm supposed to be right now, and that's how, and if shit feels right, that's how it felt.
So what was the first P record that he recorded in front of you?
What was it, man? What's it called? It's track number 3 or 4.
On Albert Einstein?
No, on the Book of Heroin, or I don't want to say that, but
No, it's fine
You know what I'm
because
talking about.
everybody knows. I told them all the story about
Okay,
how
alright.
I did my first video. I did a whole breakdown of the whole concept and everything, the 3 albums, how we came up with it, and that we were actually working on the Book of Heroin way before the Book of Revelation was even an idea, because at that time we were going to do the Book of Heroin was supposed to be produced all by SC. That was the SC album, and then we were also working on. We were doing an album called Albert Pike.
Yeah, the Albert Pike joint.
Because we did Albert Einstein, and we had the idea of doing Albert Pike also, but then Rick Ross put out Albert Anastasia, and we killed the Albert thing, and that's how the Book of Revelation started. Is the Hegelian became the 3-part album that the Albert series was going to be. So
Dope. What is it? Dope. It's dope. Something.
So, what was it like
That was the song.
being in the room while P's recording?
It was crazy, man. When P shouts you out in a song, the first time that you're around for a song to be laying, it's like, all right, cool. Like, I felt pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean, you know what's funny is you never really like fanned out.
Yeah.
As big as a fan as you always were, either you were always really dowered and you just couldn't fan out and you were doing it internally, or you just controlled yourself.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, like I said, I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. What am I going to fan out about?
Yo, I've never fanned out with any artist I've ever worked with, and they always respect that. Dímelo. Because, yo, we're in here to do a job. We're all working on the same shit.
Yeah, I mean, and you just, if it's right, it's right.
Except for Devin the Dude. I turned into a total fan when I met him. Like, I couldn't stop smiling. I was so happy. P was laughing at me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a different. The thing with P was just so humble and down to earth and fucking human being, and it's just like, how?
And I took a selfie. I never take selfies. Me, P, and Devin the Dude.
Yeah,
I was like,
you
yo,
took
we're
a
taking
selfie.
this picture. P was like, what, you taking selfies now, son? I was just like, yo, leave me alone, yo. I'm going to tell y'all a real funny story about recording in the Kew Gardens studio with this guy. So, shout out to Tricky Trips. So, we're working on this record.
Shouts to Tricky Trips, man.
Produced by Tricky Trips, and P is trying to make it his like anthem song, and it's super fire. And at the end of the record, he just shouts out everybody. He's like, you know, Joe the Engineers, and I was second. Alchemist was first. I got second on the list. I was just like, hey, I may have been third. I think Havoc may have been first. But it was like HAVOC's in the house, and Alchemist is in the house. Joe the Engineer's in the house. He just went down the list of everybody. Talked about Santana, Shaka, Gotti, Twin, everybody that was, you know, Bills, everybody who was in the circle, Sonny, and he. This guy's sitting here with a smile on his face because he's thinking like he's going to say my name. I'm going to be on this song.
I don't know if he's going to say my name because at this point he has not, and I'm just like, I mean, cool, whatever.
He said everybody else. He put everybody else's name who was in the studio that day on the record except his. Yo, you should have seen the look on his face.
So I didn't know what was going. I was like, whatever, but it would have been dope. But like, I guess he's not.
Yo, it was hilarious, and P did it on purpose because he went back and added his name later, but he just wanted to do it without putting it on there just to see how he would act. Cause
it wasn't later. It may have been like 5 minutes later.
No,
like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like the next take. He was just like, he just did it on purpose just to fuck with him. Yo, that shit was so funny. He was so tight and disappointed, but he couldn't let his emotions crack. Because P was right there, and like P was looking at him, trying to see if he was going to react. Yo, see, this is what I try to tell everybody. P was hilarious, man. If you really knew him, he was hilarious. He would always do shit like that. P was like, me and him had the same sense of humor.
He was mad funny.
We like to make ourselves laugh. We laugh internally about shit that people don't really might not think is funny. But yo, P totally left his name off of the list just to see how he would react. And he came out and sat in the studio and then played it and sat there and watched him as he's playing the record.
I forgot about this shit.
And he's watching to see how he reacts. And then
I guess he goes back in.
And then he was just like, yo, I was just fucking with you, yo. And he just went back. He didn't say it, though. He goes back. He's like, yo, I'm going to need to add.
He concludes it.
Yeah.
I'm the conclusion.
He's
so
like, yo, I need
cool.
to. He's like, yo, I need to add something. And he goes back in, and then he says.
I forgot all of this shit.
He said, yo, what did he say? Did he call you CoolR The Don?
Nah, he said, Lo, where's the
Oh, yeah, he
weed
said,
at?
yo, Lo, where the fucking weed at? He added at the end. If you want to watch the transition of somebody from absolute and utter heartbreak to Cloud 57 happen in an instantaneous moment, it was right there because he was so disappointed, but he was trying not to crack. But then when P said his name, the cracks came out. Yo, he smiled so big, I could see all his teeth. Yo, that shit was so funny. Every last one of your teeth was showing, yo. That shit was so funny, but that's P for you. Yeah. P would do funny shit like that. So, how many records you think you did with P?
At least 10.
What records that have come out that have you recorded?
The fuck is that dude's name, man? A couple of them were features. I don't honestly, man. I want to say Aston Matthews is the kid that the shit came out. Some dude from Cali. He did a feature for him. I think the song is called. Yeah, I don't even honestly, man. I'll look this shit up. But there was one we did off El Camino's from Griselda, the El Camino dude's first project. What the fuck was the song called, man? Yeah, this shit was so long ago. It's like you forget, man.
I don't.
I forgot a lot of I forgot the names of songs. You gonna tell me the names of songs? You can't do. Well, you could do that.
Yeah, I can.
But there's a reason you can do that.
Exactly, because I'm me.
Because you can just see everything all the time at any given moment.
Yeah. I always tell everybody I am the curator of the P Museum right now. So,
well, the Aston Matthews joint was called 1 Minute to Pray, and the El Camino joint was called Miz. I did a couple of joints on both of the disc 2 and 3s. But I don't really think that those have come out yet. So
nope, not yet.
Like, you know what I mean? We're going to see what happens. But at least I got to record some classic P songs, and that's like an ill feeling.
Word,
classic joints.
All right, so if you've ever been in the studio with me, I have a fundamental principle that I do not like to step on other engineers' toes. So even if we would go to the studio and there'd be another engineer working, unless he start to fuck up, I just sit in the back and roll blunts and just make sure it's cool.
Do your thing.
Because recording P was such a dope thing, and it was so ill to have on your resume that I wanted as many people to experience that as possible. I was never greedy with that. Me and P did 1,000 records together. So I always wanted people to experience that. So if he would be in the studio and he would have been recording already or sitting in the chair, and then P wanted to do something, I'd just be like, go ahead. Go ahead, do your thing, son. I'll throw you right into the fire, because that's what LB used to do to me. LB was such an ill mentor. At Quad Studios, we'd set up the session. The rapper would go into the booth. LB'd be like, all right, you're up. I'll be back. And he'd just leave. And he would go across the street to, I forget the name of the bar. It was an Irish spot, and he'd go drink fucking scotch.
Come back mad fucked.
Yeah, he'd come back like an hour later and be like, all right, and if you were fucking up, he'd take over. And if you weren't, he'd just that's your session now. And then he'd just leave. And that's it. So
shouts to LB.
He would throw you right into the fire, which is exactly what I would do. I'd throw people right into the fire. Not with P. You actually had to know what you're doing. But if we go to the engine room or to another studio And
They try to have the engineer that's there.
yeah, they'd already have their staff engineers, and I'd always go, and I would never push them out of the chair until it was like time to fly a hook or something, because none of them know how to do it properly, and we're not here to waste time.
Right.
You know, so. But yeah, I always like to have everybody experience that, man. It's a dope thing. It was not even just a resume thing. Fuck a resume. It was just a dope thing to have that experience, because P was the illest, and it's just like, holy shit, I get to watch a legend from the captain's chair
Best
do
in the
his
game,
thing.
man. The best in the business, yo. I'm gonna grab this white coat.
Word, man. So, while he's on a White Claw mission, yeah, shout out to LB, shout out to Keith Gary, and shout out to Michael Brower for teaching me everything that I know. I was fortunate enough to have the illest education when it comes to how to be an engineer. And without those three, I wouldn't be who I am. Because how I got involved with P beyond the infamous arc, the very first session that me and P ever did, it was for Love Y'all More. And when you fly a hook, back in that time period, it used to take engineers, you'd place it and listen and then try to scoot it around until it was right. And I figured out a way to do it in under 3 seconds, and it's right every single time. You don't even need to leave the booth. Let me fly the hook, and let's just keep it moving. So P had been locked up for 3.5 years, and he didn't know about this new method that I had come up with. So, you know, he lays down the hook, and then he does his verse. No, he lays down the hook, and he's just like, yo, fly the hooks into their spots so I know how much I need to write. And he's like, and put it for Havocs too. And, you know, that's literally going to take me like 3 seconds. But I waited for him to come out of the booth. And he came and he stood beside me. And as soon as he got beside me, I just click, 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 and flew both of them to their spots. And he just looked at me and he said, "You're different. And you're coming with me." And I looked at him and I said, "Word, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Let's go." And we were off and running. So, you know, it was always about being different, bringing something to the table. P didn't like people who came with empty hands. If you brought something to the table and could contribute, you were always welcome to be around. You know, because not one person can do all this shit on their own, that's for sure. And even if they could, if you allow the person to just specialize and focus on one task at hand while another person focuses and specializes on their task at hand, then everything comes out better. That's just the way it works. So, you know. Yeah, Santana, man, y'all would have been dope on a song together. Super Gangster. All right, so the Dour people have returned.
I got my claws, man.
The claws are in 'em.
I'm ready to do the Buzz Lightyear thing, if you know what I mean.
All right, so what's your favorite P record?
That's a good question, man. Is that just P?
Yeah.
Or is that probably You Can Never Feel My Pain, man. Track 19. H&RC.
All right, what's your favorite Mobb Deep record?
Damn, man. I would have to say. Shook Ones.
Yeah.
I'm. Even though I've going to the shows and shit, I can only imagine how tired they were of doing that shit. But it's like, you know, you've heard it enough. But it's like, yo, but that's the joint though. I feel like that's, you know.
You know what's funny?
Where your heart at is also one
what's
of those
funny to me
that
is
doesn't get its recognition.
Is Shook Ones is number 2 to me, because I like Survival of the Fittest.
See, I mean, it's one of the two, man.
Well, all right. So if you ever went to a Mobb Deep show, They started with Survival of the Fittest and they end it with Shook Ones.
Yeah.
So that's how big those records are, yes. Even though Survival of the Fittest wasn't in the hip-hop greatest 100, Quiet Storm was.
Right, and I mean, Quiet Storm was incredible, too. Like,
Shout out to Santana Fox, which she performed Quiet Storm with Lil Kim at Havoc at Radio City.
Keep it thorough for Dolo.
And Keep It Thorough solo. Killed it. It was dope, man. I had goosebumps. It was dope, man. So, what's your guilty Mobb Deep song? What's your song that not everybody is like, oh, that's that shit? It's like, what are your personal favorites? Or P. Either one. P's easier because there's so many records.
Right.
Black Devil was mine. Black Devil is one of my favorite P songs ever. And it's like so underrated.
What's the one? I guess it technically. I mean, am I allowed to say some shit that's not out? Like,
No. What's out?
Okay. I don't know, man, cause you know that'll give it like another thing. I don't know.
That doesn't
man.
count though, because it's underrated because we're the only ones who have heard it so far.
Right.
That doesn't count.
Right. Well, not in regard to that factor of the question, but I mean, yo, man, there's so much. What was it again? What was the question?
What's
again?
like a underrated P song is one of your favorites?
But what is underrated though? Like,
Black Devil, Not a Stan.
I mean, Not a Stand is dope as fuck.
Records are like that. That feel is
You
the
know
type
what?
of shit I like
guess
from
I could
P.
I could say Not a Stand then, technically. It's newer. I mean, look, you're dealing with somebody who has had 25 years or more. Like, there's a lot of stages. Like, how about this? Like, let's flip it. Like, what's your favorite P stage of...
The last stage.
The last, all right.
Hey, I can answer. See, that's
Well,
what's funny.
I knew that, but...
If people ask me questions, I have an instantaneous answer. They're definitive. I don't have to think at all. Like, I already know. The last stage of P, Hegelian dialectic, ascended P, conscious P. Because he's the only one who could do that. He's the only one that could have done the Book of Revelation. And that's why we made it. And that's why I used to tell him all the time, you're the only one who can do this and not make it sound like shit. You're the only one.
So a lot of that shit actually played the part in me not wanting to do this shit anymore. It's like I haven't really been fucking with music like that because I feel like I grew more to the point where it's like, yo, I'm gonna keep talking about just shit. It's like I'm grown now, man. It's like things are different.
They are different, but shout out to ASAP P for coming through the other day. He lit a fire in me, yo.
Shouts to ASAP P, man.
He lit a fire because he let me know, just like they used to be, all these engineers are trash. Shout out to the good ones, not everybody.
Not great.
But, shout out to the good ones. But
it's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, it got me. I wish there was a school I could go teach at now, but there isn't, so I guess I'm going to have to do tutorial videos and shit like that. Look for that shit coming soon, I guess. So what's your favorite stage of P?
I mean, I guess I have two answers. The end, because of where I'm at in my life, and obviously I resonate the most with that portion. But it's like I have to... When they came back out after the Eminem shit, because if anybody, a lot of people remember, like, they kind of, like, P and Have, like, fell back a little bit for, like, what, like, 2002? They kind of, like, they considered it a hiatus, but not really, and then they came out with they got the Land Speed deal, and they did the Free Agents tape, and they got paid for that shit, but... yeah, man, because that's when they had the studio... shouts to Fly.
Shout out to Fly.
And they were just in there all the time, just create when you don't have to worry. It's just like, all right, cool. And then they got the Jive deal, and then the shit started, G-Unit and all this shit. It's like, you had the lab. Like, that was when I felt they were at their most creative. It's like, yo, what? I saw second to the end. It's like, I really fucked with that 2003 era. That's what a lot of the fans don't know. Like a lot of their favorite songs are from that era too, that came out years later.
Yeah, you guys.
I had to go through some shit to find out. Like, yo, what the fuck? This was 3 years old. This was 4, 5. What? Like,
Yeah, you guys that haven't worked in the music industry professionally don't understand that sometimes some of these records, when they just get released, are like fucking 7, 8 years old.
I want to say
That's just how it works.
I want to say, and I never got to talk to P about this. I don't know why, or maybe I did, and he glanced over like, yo, how do you know that? But Stuck on You was released 3 times at different, like, I don't know how fucking Stuck to You from Return of the Mac. I don't know how old that song is, bro. He put it out. It was on a K-Slay mixtape in 2002, and then the shit gets, and then he releases it for real in 2005 when he's about to push HNIC 2 prior to the G-Unit deal, and then the G-Unit deal changed everything, so he pushed it back, and then he ends up putting it as one of the singles for Return of the Mac another year and a half or 2 later. So I'm just like, yo, how, like, this is crazy. And then when I found out the shit was on the K-Slay tape, I'm like, yo, this is from 2001, dog. It's like, what?
That happens.
It's crazy.
Well, when Pete put out the Most Infamous, there were some records that had been already released on there.
Was that was the Not a Stand, and
Yeah, because
what was the other one? There were only 2 songs were new.
Yeah, the Most Infamous was
that like his favorite?
Yeah,
song?
that was P's underrated tracks. Like, to me, an easy one to me is
My bad, I don't know.
is Dirty New Yorker. That's a
Dirty
totally
New Yorker,
underrated P
super
record that I
hard.
fucking love.
I remember when I got
Genesis.
GTA 4, like, I got it for that fucking song. It's like, this shit made me...
Basically,
Yeah,
anything
man.
off of HNIC that's not Keep It Thorough is underrated.
Okay.
Keep It Thorough is a hit record. The rest of them are like, you got to be like a P fan.
I mean, yo, You Could Never Feel My Pain, you got Veterans Memorial, like, you got Rock That, you got fucking...
Rock That's one of my favorites.
Infamous Minded. You got 3, like, everything on there. You got Dealt With the Bullshit. Like, all of this shit is like, what?
So
How did you do that?
what's your favorite P song ever? Even if it hasn't come out yet.
I would have to say You Could Never Feel My Pain, I guess.
Because my favorite P song is a record that's going to be on the Book of the Dead, and it's fucking...
That's really your favorite?
Yes, you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
too.
I know what you're talking
It's-
about. I mean, I have joints on Book of the Dead where it's like, yo, I'll fucking shoot somebody to have this shit right now.
You know, so in that record, every time I hear it, I'm just like, ugh.
Book of the Dead, if it goes how I would in an ideal world for me, like all of the best songs ever.
I wouldn't go that far with it, but it's
Fire, all like my
Yeah,
favorite
super
shit
fire.
I've heard in a while is like it's Book of the Dead.
Book of the Dour.
But yeah, you know. What I'm
See,
saying?
you had a chance to do your version, the Book of the Dour.
Well, I've already but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna
So,
So
let's
yeah,
see.
you can never feel my pain, man. There's a joint called Change or something of that magnitude that I got to record with P. That's like super hard body karate. That shit is fire.
Word. So, what's your favorite P video?
Favorite video. P probably Mac 10 handle, because that's when everything that was when YouTube came. That set the tone for what you could do with YouTube and what it means.
Yeah, see, it didn't take me that long to answer. It's back 10 handle. That's easy.
Yeah,
That's a revolutionary video.
it's one of the
For those who
shouts to Dan the Man, yo.
Shout out to Dan the Man. Yo, for those who don't know, Mac 10 Handle was the first major artist video that was made just for YouTube. Because
Crazy.
whenever you put out a rap video via MTV or BET at that time period, it took like at least 6 months to finally get it cleared. I promise you, every single video they'd be like, you can't have any smoking in it. You can't say this. You can't have this. You can't do this. And every time they just send it back. You can't, and it's just eventually they whittle it down to whatever's an acceptable version. Well, with Mac 10 handle, there was no way that they were going to allow all that shit to be on MTV. So P said, "Fuck it, we're just going to make a video for
for the mixtape." This was before Koch bought this made Koch give him $200,000 for Return of the Mac up front. Like, how do you do that?
So
what are you talking about? Shit is crazy.
Word. So he said, "Fuck it, we're going to go on a platform that will allow us to showcase the whole thing as art," and that's how Mac 10 Handle is so dope, because it's the first video, like real rap video that was on YouTube.
Yep.
Revolutionary. P was always trying to do new shit, always, all the time, and those were some of my favorite times. I always tell everybody my favorite times with P weren't necessarily when we were working on music, is when him and I were brainstorming. It would just be me and him and maybe Santana, and I'd roll a blunt and I'd pace back and forth, and he'd ask me a question. What do you think we should do with this? What do you think about that? And then I'd just start throwing out whatever came out.
Yeah, it's the same. Those were my favorite moments.
And then
fucking Jersey.
It was funny because with P, and especially with me, if it is a trash idea, just go ahead and tell me so we won't waste any more time. So he'd always just laugh at me. I'd be like, "Oh, come on, I'm working on it. It'll come." But those were because it's just like all my brain was firing at the highest level.
Right.
So, and P was always willing to try or at least listen to everything. So it's just like anything I could come up with. So towards the end, what we were working on the most at the end was Paranoid Activity.
Oh, the show.
Because that was just literally me and P wrote all of that shit. So who knows if that'll ever come out, but it was
that was a dope idea.
Yeah, that was real fun too. And to me, I always tell everybody the funniest part was, all right, so you're here now. You'd be a guest on Paranoid Activity. So we have.
Do you want to tell them like what it was basically?
I've already told them.
Right.
So I would pull up a picture of Hillary Clinton, and then I would ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, how Illuminati is Hillary Clinton? And your answer would be
very Illuminati.
47 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, whatever.
33 or whatever their highest Mason bullshit is, that level. And then, then you just sit there and discuss it. And then another idea that we came out with was, and this one was really funny, was, see if I can remember it. Bring them back, get a shot of yak, or leave them where they're at. And that was our version of fuck, marry, kill. So if you could take 3 people who are no longer here, you could bring one back, you could go get a drink with one, or you could leave one where the fuck they're at.
One more time.
All right, so it was bring them back, get a shot of yak, or leave them where they're at. And we would show you 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like Abraham Lincoln, Malcolm X, and Muhammad Ali.
Damn, see, I didn't even remember all that. I didn't even get into all this.
So it'd be like, you'd have to bring one back.
It's a classic.
Just go get a drink with one, and then just leave one exactly where they're at.
Right.
Fuck them.
Right.
The world's better off.
Yeah.
So that one was really funny. Like, the whole show was shit like that.
Right.
And then the only thing that came out was stupid Rick Ross segment. That wasn't even the whole episode. It was just this fucking segment.
Yeah, that sucked. I wish that guy.
I'm still waiting for somebody who understands voodoo and shit to translate whatever it is that Rick Ross said whenever Pete asked him if he does voodoo.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it is that he said, I want to know what that means.
See, it was cool because when I saw that, I think we were at the crib when they put, I guess because the public, they just put it out without even talking to P about it, I think.
Yeah.
And P was tight. Like, what? Why would you do that? So we're chilling, watching this shit at the crib. He's like, yo, fuck it, I'm with cousin Rob. Shout out to cousin Rob.
Shout out to cousin Rob.
Me, cousin Rob, P. I think Santana Fox was in the building, but she may have not been downstairs in the studio. This dude just keeps building these studios. I don't know how he does it, but That shit was crazy. But so we're in the studio while he's showing his shit. So he's adding commentary while we watching. This shit was hilarious. I'll never forget. Every time I see that shit, that's what I think about.
Yo, you know, I just had a random memory pop into my head. The whole time period of us watching the behind the scenes Chappelle Show video.
Oh yeah.
On repeat. Yo, that video doesn't even exist anymore, but there used to be a behind the scenes outtakes, and they literally was like
James and
like an hour straight, and they didn't even have breaks. It was just straight footage. They even were talking about scenes in between. It was like somebody was just real behind that shit was the funniest shit of all time.
It was we'd be in Kew Gardens just watching that shit all the fucking time, yo.
Word. So we're gonna fast forward to we talked about the Loud 25th anniversary show where Santana got to perform, which was super crack.
Yeah.
So Santana asked me to tell a story about backstage at the Loud show. So,
Yeah.
So we're backstage.
Shouts to Davies, man.
We're backstage, and you know, Mobb Deep literally. Each act probably only had maybe 10 passes, but somehow, some way, Mobb Deep had 250 people backstage.
When you fucking with Mobb Deep, there's gonna be 307 people on the stage with the act. Just that's how it goes, man.
So it's packed, and it's like literally like an Infamous Records reunion.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm talking to Santana. I'm high as shit. The Dour people have finally showed up. Somebody finally got him in because I left the studio way early and made my way backstage like an hour before he even got there.
He was on, when you early, you on time. When you fucking on time, you're late.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, this really tall dude just like comes past the door, and it's Dave East, and I'm just like, okay, that's kind of odd because I thought this was like the Mobb Deep section.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why, even if he was performing with somebody else, I figure he'd be over in their section. So I'm like, oh, he must.
Well, no. So what he does is he comes in the room, but he comes over to the corner.
No, I'll get there.
Okay,
I'll get there. You're always jumping the gun.
I'm too much White Claw, man.
So he passes by first. I'm just like, this is interesting to me because it's just like, what's he doing here?
I didn't even see him yet.
Yeah, I'm like, this is odd, you know.
Right.
I haven't seen him in any Mobb Deep concerts before, so I didn't know that Dave East was performing P's verse on Shook Ones, which was really fucking dope.
I found out on the stage.
Yeah, I had no idea. Even when he was back there, I was just like, Dave East is back here. This is cool.
What's going on?
So we're in the corner, like sequestered. It was me, the Dour people, Boone, shout out to Boone, Santana, and what's her name? Amber Simone.
Nice and Future, I believe.
Nice was there too. So it was like, it was like a little tiny reunion, and there's a little gap, and Dave East saw it, so he comes right through us. He's just like, yo, you mind if I slide over here so I can smoke? Because we're in the corner, so that means everybody's like away from him.
People section.
And he's there and he's popping right now, so it's like all these people in the room kind of like crowd around, so it's just like a little bit tight.
He's dowering with us.
So we're smoking, and I'm just like, we're just talking about like music and whatnot, and this fucking weirdo right here pulls out a vial of CBD oil.
So what really happens is we're all chilling, doing the Dour thing. Dave East comes, oh, yo, y'all mind if I dour over here? So it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? So Dave East is dowering. I'm bitching because it's like 1,000 degrees in that motherfucker, and sun got on like a North Face, all this shit. I'm like, yo, how are you staying so, like, what are you doing? And he's just like, nah, like, you know how to keep, he's just like, nah, the best way to keep cool is just to not think about it. And I'm like, word, nah, I'm like, this is what I use, and I bust out the CBD. You know what I'm saying? But
yes.
It's in a fashion where I've finessed it to where you can't really share it with people because it seems too weird. The shit is like an oil dropper.
Stop. I'm telling the story now. So.
Right. You've heard the side.
No, that was a poor side of your story. So anyway, he pulls out this vial, all right? It's not that it's CBDs. He just pulls out a brown vial with a dropper on it. There's no stickers on it, no identification. Nobody except if you know him, you know that it's CBDs because he uses them all the time. We know what it is. Dave East didn't know what the fuck that shit was. So he goes.
Davey sees this shit.
No, you stop, man. So, because you forget details. So he asked Santana if she wanted some CBDs because she was about to perform, and clear, you know, it's her first performance in this Radio City fucking music hall. So she's a little bit nervous.
Cool you down, you know
and
what I mean?
she didn't want to dour and be all high out there, which, you know, we'll save that for later. Go out and perform. And so he's like handing out CBD drops to everybody who would take it. And, you know, he literally just met Davies like 10 minutes ago. And he has an unmarked brown vial of a mysterious liquid in an eyedropper thing. And he doesn't offer it to him like, yo, you ever seen this before? You use CBDs? Nothing like that. He just takes the eyedropper like you were going to motorboat him and goes, do you want some CBDs? Yo, the look on Dave East's face. I swear to God, Dave East thought that CoolR was trying to roofie him. So that's the story. And he left instantly in the middle of his joint because he smokes Fonto in the middle of his spliff. He literally he didn't even say bye to nobody. He just walked away with this look of like, yo, this dude, this random weird dour people just tried to fucking roofie me, yo.
So we came to find out that that's why he was there, because he was trying to embody the, you know, to go do the Shook Ones verse. But, you know, I was just trying to be considerate. Like, yo, you got the dour. You passed me your dour. Like, here, this is how I stay cool. We talking about it. It's
there
all
was
relevant.
no, it was not a discussion
but
about
I understand how you know, if you, Dave East, it's all good. You know what I mean? We're just doing the dour thing.
I had nothing to do with that. I just happened to be there.
Dour people.
But, yo, it really looked like, you really look like a weirdo. I'm not going to lie. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life backstage.
I'll see him again. We'll get a chance to.
Imagine you just met someone backstage.
That shit happened with me.
And they pull out a vial of random liquid that you have no idea who they are or how they get down.
Of course, I can see how crazy that shit probably
And then they don't even offer it to you. They take the vial out like they're about to drop it into your mouth for it. Like, that was so fucking creepy, dude.
I guess so.
That was the weirdest.
If you are not around anything like that, yeah, it's probably, I can understand how weird that shit is seen.
Yo, so from here on out, I will never not let you think that you didn't try to roofie Davies. And if anybody sees CoolR or they follow him on Instagram,
hide your wife,
all of that shit, just constantly remind him that he tried to roofie Dave East.
It'll appease him.
Yeah, yo, I really didn't know he was even performing show, cause even at that point, because he kind of just, I didn't get a chance to talk to him. He fucking left, you weirdo.
Well, nah, you did. We were chilling, you know what I mean? His time was over. He felt like, I'm good now. I want to get away from all.
Yeah, but his spliff wasn't, so his time was not even near to being
so we
over.
had a whole debate, though, about, because I quit smoking cigarettes. And that's why I was tight. So can we talk about like how I felt? So he comes through with his, you know, his joint or whatever, but he does the Fonto in the middle. So where I'm like, yo, he's like, you want? I'm like, nah, I'm cool. I quit smoking fucking nicotine like 2.5 years ago. He's like, nah, this ain't nicotine. Like, this is Fonto. I'm just like, that's a tobacco leaf. He's like, nah. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll dour with Dave East. So as soon as I hit it, though, I knew I made a mistake. I'm like, it's like, all right, like I quit smoking cigarettes, so I can't put nicotine in my body because that'll make you think you want a bogey. So I just don't fuck with, I smoke straight joints now, none of that shit. And that shit got me tight because I'm like, yo, this shit is fucking tobacco, son. I hit it, I think I passed it. I think Nice took it. Shouts to Nice, man.
Yo, so your whole backstage experience was ruined, man. Your body got poisoned by nicotine.
Yeah, but I was up, so I was stimulated. The whole night was lit after that. I was
but you unsuccessfully tried to drug Dave East.
I wasn't successful.
You were not successful in your venture.
Didn't succeed.
Yo, God, son, you should have seen. That is something I will never forget. Is the look on his face when he asked him if he wanted some of that and held that vial up. I have never seen a look of disgust so defined. Like, it was priceless. This is a priceless moment. So, all right, we definitely went over the Dour hour.
Yeah, the Dour hour is definitely concluded.
So shout out to everybody who came in and watched it.
Much love.
Shout out to the Dour people.
Shout outs to your families. You know what I mean?
So if you missed any of the interview, head over to the YouTube channel. I'm about to post it on there.
YouTube, baby.
Yeah,
all the footage, yo. Joe the engineer.
Yo, Santana.
Santana Fox.
When you're in New York for your birthday, we're going to do an interview and we'll talk about how you felt when Dave East walked out of our circle of trust because somebody tried to drug him. So, me and the Dour people are about to do something that I know all of you want to do. We're about to listen to some P records and figure some things out.
A couple of things out and factors and add some, make sense of some equations.
Santana just called us the cock-blocking mall cops. Yo, Santana, you are hilarious. Yo, shout out to you. Shout out to everybody. We'll see you next time. 333 RIPP. Yo, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good. It's a good Dour dynamic.